Hey guys, for today's story I will be reading Body in the Woods, which is a story from Reddit. If you like the story, please be sure to show your support by giving us a big thumbs up, subscribing and leaving a comment with any story suggestions you may have. We'd love to hear them. So, without further ado, let's get into the story. Okay. Well, to start this off, I grew up in the 1970s in a small town in North Carolina. Well, it was almost too small to be called a town, with only a school and a couple of small shops. I'm guessing you can imagine how boring it would be to be a teenager there. And it would have been, if it wasn't for the woods. The neighbourhood that I lived in backed up onto a big forest that spread out for about 3 miles. And it's where I spent most of my teenage years, with my 2 best friends, Levi Gibson and Connor LaChance. They both were in my class at school and we were all 15. Levi lived across the street, and he was a smart and kind of quiet kid, unlike Connor, who lived down the bad side of the neighbourhood. Connor was a troublemaker, getting sent to the dean's office at least once a week. He was loud, obnoxious, and a natural leader, always finding something for us to do, be it legal or not. When he was around, we were never bored. It was the beginning of the summer holidays and Levi had called for me. We went down to get Connor, who was messing around with his younger brother's scooter in the front yard, and we asked him if he wanted to go to the woods, and he said yes. Now, just in case this may be necessary, Connor had almost black shaggy hair and the most beautiful eyes. One was a light blue while the other was a brownish colour. He always wore scruffy red Converse and a denim jacket. And of course, I had the biggest crush on him. While Levi had styled brown hair, brown eyes and freckles, and was considerably shorter than me. And then there was me, a red-headed, brown-eyed girl that quite a lot of people were scared of due to my hyperactiveness. I was always ready to go somewhere or do something, and I was always talking about something. Anyway, we made our way into the woods and started walking in a random direction. We did this for fun, as it meant we would usually get lost and have to find our way back, which most of the time just led to us being late for dinner and getting sent to our beds early, or worse, getting grounded. But we did it anyway. We were making our way along a deer trail and I didn't think we'd actually been on it before, when Connor found a pile of crap and, of course, dipped a stick into it and began chasing us with it. Levi and I, of course, freaked out and scattered. Neither of us wanted to be smeared with crap. I ran off, and luckily for me, Connor followed Levi instead in the opposite direction. And after a while of them not coming back, I began to think they'd left me, and I was furious. I was walking down the way I had seen them run, when suddenly something stuck out of the bush and grabbed me. I let out a surprised yelp and Connor shushed me, only for me to then shout at him for scaring me. Only, when I saw the look on his face, I decided that I shouldn't be talking, and I shut my mouth. Connor whispered to me, "You have got to see this," and began to lead me through the bushes. The further we went, the more I could smell something disgusting. Finally, we came upon an almost green Levi, staring at the ground with a weird expression on his face. I was about to ask him what was wrong, but Connor tugged me past him a few feet away to where there was a ditch. And in that ditch was what I could only describe as something out of a nightmare. It was a body. It was a purple-blue colour, and it almost looked swollen up, and the stench was now terrible. I had to cover my mouth with a jumper so not to gag. I backed up to where Levi was. Connor stood, looking into the trench for about 5 more seconds before he walked back over to us. "Cool, huh?" he said with a grin. Levi gave him a disgusted look before saying, "No, it ain't cool. We need to go home and call the police." Connor replied, What? Why? What do you mean, why? There's a body dumped in a woods, Connor. Someone's clearly been murdered. No, man, it's so cool. We can't get the police. If we do, they're going to think it was us who killed her, Connor replied. Why would they think it was us? 'Cause that's what the police do, man. Don't be stupid, Connor. You can't stop me. God's sake, man, if you get the police out of here, it'll be on the news and everyone will get questioned and they'll probably put out a curfew and they'll ban us from going into the forest. There'll be police everywhere and the summer will suck. I had just been quietly watching the argument take place, not really caring what happened, but that got to me. And there was no way in hell that I was going to let my summer get ruined. Connor's right. What? You're not serious. Levi, we have the whole summer left. Do you really want to spend it inside? Yeah, man, 2 against 1. Come on, don't do anything stupid. Levi looked crushed. Fine, but I'm not coming near this thing again. Connor had let out a whoop of joy, and we made our way home listening to him talk about how it would be our little secret. Well, the secret didn't last very long, as by the end of the week Connor had shown all the rest of our friends, and it was a miracle that nobody did call the police. But I guess that just shows how close everybody was. We were like one big family, and like most families, we had our secrets. The body remained there for the rest of the summer. I only went up a few more times and it had gotten less interesting each time. And according to Connor, there was only bones left. Anyway, on the last week of the summer vacation, we decided to have a big camp out with all of our friends. There was me, Levi, Condor, Josh Walsh, a loudmouth boy with mousy brown hair and blue eyes, Alice Haley, a quiet girl with straight brown hair cut into a neat bob, Courtney Rhea, who I would describe as the only girl. I actually saw her as a friend, probably because she was the only one who put up with my bratty attitude. She had long, dark brown, almost black hair and brown eyes, and also had freckles dotting her cheeks. And then there was Kenny Stokes, the kid whose garden we were camping in. He had sandy blonde hair, brown eyes and freckles. His dad owned the biggest garden, so of course we had to camp there. And, as an added bonus, Kenny's garden backed right into the woods. And even though we had promised Kenny's mum that we wouldn't go into the woods after dark, we were planning to. But unfortunately, our plans were foiled by good old Mother Nature, as she had decided to make it rain. So, all 7 of us piled into the biggest tent, which belonged to Courtney. We played cards for about 2 hours, making up new games with crazy rules. Josh even suggested that we play strip poker, only to have a shoe chucked at him and to be told that if he carried on acting like a pedo, we would send him home. He quieted down after that and we carried on playing until Kenny began complaining that we were going to run out of oxygen. This went on for a good 10 minutes before he decided to unzip the tent and stick his head out so he could breathe. "Hey guys, the rain stopped," said Kenny excitedly. "Seriously?" I said. "Yeah, let's go do something." We then all argued for a good 20 minutes about where we were going to go and what we were going to do, and so far, breaking into school and hanging out there was winning. That was until Connor said, "Why don't we go see the body?" That was it. Everyone put their shoes and coats on, and Kenny took down his dollar store flashlight that he had hung from the roof of Courtney's tent, and off we went. Connor and Kenny led. But Kenny's flashlight, to be honest, was pretty crap and didn't like the way very well. And I don't believe that we needed it anyway, because even though I hadn't been to the body in weeks, it was burned into my mind how to get there. The whole way there we were talking about what it would look like now and how creepy this all was. And then the conversation took a turn that it had never before. We began talking about who we thought the body was, why they were dead, and who murdered them. And this scared me because it made me see it for what it really was. A dead body of a murdered person hidden by someone in the woods. And we had never reported it. I brought this issue up to Connor, who simply stated, "It's too late now. It's probably only bones left, and even if we did tell the police, we would get in trouble for holding it off for so long." To this, I remained silent and kept walking alongside Courtney and Levi, listening to Josh telling Alice some made-up story behind us. They soon went silent though, as we came to the ditch. Connor and Kenny stood silently at the edge, shining the flashlight into it, Kenny's mouth agape in horror. I asked what it was, and Connor shushed me and signalled the rest of us over with his finger. As I came to the edge, I saw what they'd freaked out about. In the ditch was something piled on top of the original body. It was wrapped in a yellow floral patterned bedsheet, and it was tied with some sort of string to stop the sheet from coming away. Everyone stood silent for what felt like hours, but in reality, it was probably only a couple of seconds, before Connor pulled his Stanley knife out of his pocket and descended into the ditch. Levi began to protest, but Connor turned and shushed him and whispered for Kenny to shine his light on him, to which Kenny obliged. And Connor then cut some of the strings and pulled at the sheet until it revealed the face of a young girl. She stared up at us with dead, glazed-over eyes and a blank expression. I felt like I was going to be sick, and apparently so did Levi as he began to violently retch as he turned away. I couldn't turn away. No matter how hard I tried, I was mesmerised. Connor suddenly jumped back. A look of sudden realisation and horror crossed his pale face as he began to scramble up the side of the ditch. Josh helped him. "What happened? And what is it?" he cried, only to have him frantically shush us. And with a shaking voice he said, "It's dry as a bone." A feeling of absolute dread settled in my stomach. And if you don't get what the big deal was, it had rained only an hour earlier and everything was wet. And this body was dry, which means it would have had to have been put there recently. Everyone was silent. Then there was a noise behind us across the ditch. My heart was in my throat as we turned around, and Kenny quickly pointed his flashlight at where the noise was coming from, and then, click. Suddenly from across the ditch came an extremely bright light, illuminating us and making the person holding the light impossible to see. "Run!" yelled Connor, grabbing me by the arm as everyone sprinted. Whoever it was with the light sprinted too, the light swinging violently as they ran, randomly illuminating trees and bushes, and scaring the living daylights out of some deer. Suddenly the light went off and I felt my heart stop. Connor was muttering, no, oh God, where is he?" under his breath. As we ran for our lives, I tried listening to hear if whoever it was behind us, but all I could hear was my pulse racing and everything was beginning to go blurry. As we crashed through the tree line and into Kenny's backyard, we were greeted by Kenny and Courtney. Levi stumbled in a couple of seconds later, face streaked with tears of fear, followed by Josh, We huddled together and everyone began blabbering about what was going on and who that was and what we were going to do if he finds us. But then Courtney spoke up. "Where's Alice?" Everyone went silent and looked towards the woods in fear until Levi spoke up. "Kenny, go get your dad." Connor looked over to glare at Levi before turning to Kenny and barking, "No, Kenny, don't get your dad. Let's think about this, okay? He will call the police, and do you think the police are gonna believe us?" "Yes!" "No, they won't. Look, we are gonna wait for 5 minutes, and then we can get your dad." And for some reason, we waited 5 minutes, which soon turned to 15 minutes. And then Connor turned around to us and let out a defeated sigh. "Kenny, go get your dad. But tell him that we were playing tag and she ran into the woods so she wouldn't get caught, okay?" "Right. Now, Kenny's dad was a terrifying man. He was 6 foot and built like a tank. And he was also an ex-Marine." Kenny began pounding on his back door. This goes on for about a minute before Mr. Stokes threw open the door, his face red with fury. "What are you playing at, boy? It's 2 in the goddamn morning," he hollered. "Dad, Alice is in the woods." "What?" "She ran in when we were playing tag and she hasn't come back and we think she might have gotten lost." Mr. Stokes stared off into the woods for a bit, squinting to try and see beyond the tree line before muttering an "okay" and retreating into his house, only to return 5 minutes later with a big flashlight. He stomped off into the woods and we all waited for about 20 minutes before he returned and said, "Fun's over, kids. Go home and get your fathers and tell them to bring flashlights." And that was it. We all went home and told our parents what was going on, and all of the men went out into the woods to look for Alice, while the women stood around in Kenny's backyard. We were all told to stay home, which I didn't. I crossed the street and knocked on Levi's door. He answered and I stepped inside. Apparently Connor had the same idea as he was sitting on the sofa eating some chips. "Do you think they'll find her?" I asked quietly. "Yeah, she's probably just panicked and got herself lost," said Connor. "And what if he got her? What if she's dead? What are you going to do then?" said Levi as he stood by the window looking into the dark street. "Then we keep our stories the same. She ran off into the woods and didn't come out. That's all you say." Suddenly the sound of police sirens cut through the air. "Oh no," rumbled Levi as the police cars drove down the road towards Kenny's house. We watched as 2 police cars pulled up, and the men got out carrying big flashlights. And he walked around back and into the woods. After that, me and Connor went home, and I watched out of my window as suddenly 5 more police cars appeared. My parents came home at around 6. I asked my mother what happened, and she told me that they found the body in the woods and it wasn't looking good. The next day the police interviewed all of us, and we stuck to Connor's story. They didn't find Alice, just like Connor said. There was news coverage, a ban on us going into the woods, and it was a curfew for 9 p.m. And when we went back to school, there was an assembly on safety with strangers. They found Alice in the end, 12 days later, chopped up into tiny little pieces and crammed into a garbage can on the side of the road 10 miles from our house. I have my own kids now and have since lost contact with all of my childhood friends apart from Levi, with whom I now have a child. And he recently told me that Kenny had been killed due to an overdose. and we were invited to the funeral along with the rest of the kids I grew up with. I will not be attending that funeral. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. I'd love to hear your opinions down in the comments. Would you have told the police the full story? Or stuck to Connor's plan? I'd be really interested in hearing your thoughts down below. So, until next time, don't let the bedbugs bite.